Hello again, I'm Tripp Rogers, and this is Tripp's Take. Well, if you notice my shirt here, this side, yes, I got a chance to cross something off my bucket list. Yesterday, I attended the Masters practice round at Augusta National. Now, I've got to tell you, I have never been, I've been to Augusta National once, and that was when I drove through Augusta on my way. I had to do a basketball game actually in Augusta, and I just happened to drive by the course, and I was able just to drive in and take a look. This is back in 1982, so a different day and time, and I was just able to drive in, just take a look at it, and drive out. That was my experience with Augusta National. Of course, I've lived in Georgia now for 7 years almost, and the opportunity to attend came up. My buddy was able to get me a ticket for yesterday, and I was able, yesterday being Wednesday, the practice round, and I was able to go to Augusta. Now, first of all, you have to understand something. This is like hallowed ground. It's Yankee Stadium. It's the Boston Garden. It's, you talk about iconic places where sporting events take place, and this is iconic. And there are some rules. And one of the rules is no cell phones. And I got to tell you, it didn't bother me, but it's just, it allowed you really just to soak it in. And I got there at like 6:15 in the morning. The course opens at 7. First thing I did was, like the lemmings, I went right to the pro shop and spent lots of money. The average person who attends Augusta spends $2,000 in the pro shop. And I'll believe it. I will believe it. And I've seen TikTok videos of people with their Masters merch haul. And I mean, they give you bags when you walk in, and I filled that bag. I filled that bag and then some. And the funny part of it was, they've got the gift shop laid out. They got plenty of people to help you. But I got everything but T-shirts because I wanted to get some T-shirts for folks. And I was like, so, and of course, the other problem is that, I'm a big guy, and, they were lacking in what I wanted in a couple of large sizes. That was kind of bothersome. But anyhow, the other thing about Augusta is the concession prices, the food prices are kept low. I mean, for breakfast, I had 4 sandwiches. And that was, I think it was $14. And that included one of those $5 holders for drinks, because I had to get one of those. The Masters on it. But anyhow, to describe what it was like is overwhelming. And the thing I said to somebody who lived in the area and works at the tournament every year, I said, television just does not do this justice. And they agree. I got to tell you, I mean, to be there, to see it is unbelievable. And the lengths they go to make it look so good, and the hills. So, and one of the things about the Masters is the patrons are very courteous. So I bought one of those Masters chairs. And I go and I was walking, and I said, okay, I think I'm going to put this, I'm in hole 16. Let's put it down. So I put it down, put my business card in the back of the chair, and there the chair sat. Didn't go anywhere, and that was great. And I walked around this iconic golf course. I went to the clubhouse. I walked the front 9. I walked throughout the entire course. And it was so relaxed, and it was so cool, and people were so nice. It was unbelievable. Finally, I had had enough walking, and I sat down. So I sat at 16. And for those of you, the uninitiated, that is a par 3, and there's a large lake there. And so what the pros will do during the practice rounds, they will try and skip balls over the lake to get it up on the green. And the thing about the green is, it is so steep. I mean, somebody was talking and they had actually played around and said, yeah, I scored a 98. I said, dude, I'm double that, guaranteed. And it was funny because I talked to my buddy Apple Joe, and he said, listen, we might have a chance to play around there. And I'm like, oh my God. Talk about an embarrassing round of golf. But anyhow, I sat at 16, and it was great. You talk to the people you're sitting with, because you're all, chairs are, those fold-up chairs are not very wide and stuff. So, you're all on top of each other. So you can't help but talk to people. And it was such a fascinating experience. And the funniest thing was, so I had to go back to the pro shop to get T-shirts. And so I'm in line, and it was like a 15-minute wait. They said, I always said you should go back and shop in the middle of the day. The only problem is, they run out of stuff. Like the gnomes were sold out 3 hours before. When I was carrying it out to the parking lot, I got stopped by 3 people. Say, "Where'd you get the gnome?" And I said, "I got it at 7:00 this morning." But I'm sitting there in line, and there was a TikTok creator who I follow and I watch because I'm trying to learn how to cook on the Blackstone. And I had heard he was at Augusta that week. He had done a video earlier in the weekend. And so I'm walking, I said, I think that's the guy. But I didn't want to say anything. You don't want to embarrass yourself, right? Well, next thing I'm waiting for him to come around the turn, because there was, long lines like Disney World or something. I was waiting to see, I could see his face. And suddenly somebody called out his signature, and he's like, there he is. And I'm like, oh, and I said, man, I gotta meet you. And I was just like, fanboy. I was like, and I said, oh, you're the reason I got a Blackstone, and I was learning how to cook from you, blah, 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 blah. And it was one of those fun things. I said, I wish I had my camera here to take a selfie. He goes, yeah, I feel naked without my camera too. So, I mean, it was cool. And, he was great. He was great. And it was such a fun day. It was a long day because I got up at 3:00 in the morning and drove 2.5 hours to Augusta. Now, again, traffic getting into the place, traffic was great. I mean, I hate traffic, but it wasn't bad. And getting out was kind of easy. It was an easy ride, but, on the way home, the ride was made easier because I had 4 more sandwiches. and people talk about the pimento cheese sandwich and the egg salad sandwich, which are signatures for the Masters. But I got to tell you, the Masters Club was my favorite sandwich, and I really enjoyed that. And again, concession prices, very, very reasonable. That's one of the things the Masters did. And the only thing was I did not get an alcoholic beverage, so I didn't get the green cup. I got the clear cup because I had iced tea and a lemonade. But so I only got 2 of those cups. But I mean, people walk out of there with a bunch of those cups. And in fact, my buddy who went last year told me about that too. But so I'm going to enter the Masters Lottery, which they have every year for tickets, and I'm going to do it this year. Of course, I'm not hopeful of my chances of getting Masters tickets because I was hearing one guy was 0 for 23, and then this year he got tickets, so he's 1 for 24. And my boss at work has said, yeah, I've been trying for 20 years. I haven't gotten them. I was like, okay. Well, you got to be in it to win it. What's the old saying goes? So I'm all set to go, and I'm going to sign up for the Masters Lottery for tickets, and maybe I'll get to go back. But it was a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and it was so much fun. Of course, the only thing about it is, and I said this to somebody, if I can get 2 tickets, I would love to be able to share it with somebody. Because, going alone, I mean, I didn't mind it, but I mean, life is better when you have somebody to go with. And that is Tripp's take for April the 10th, 2025. It was funny because I was telling somebody yesterday when we were waiting online, I said, I've done a TikTok or I've done a podcast for 3 years. And, I don't have that many followers. This guy has lots of followers on TikTok. Anyhow, maybe I need to do this on TikTok. I don't know. But anyhow, yes, Tripp's take for April 10th, 2025. If you got any comments or questions about my podcast, please feel free. I can't even speak. Please feel free to let me know at trippstake@gmail.com. Well, fantasy football players, don't forget about my other podcast, The Fantasy Sultans, with the Hall of Famer Mike Sheck. I mean, we're coming up on the NFL draft, and we will have an NFL draft special that'll be coming up. You can find it the same place you find Tripp's Take on TikTok on Spotify for creators. I'm on TikTok and YouTube. Just search for the Fantasy Sultans. Like the music of the 60s, 70s, and 80s, you can listen to WTRSradio.com. You can find that on Live365.com. Join me next week for another edition of Tripp's Take. For now, I'm Tripp Rogers. Thanks for joining me. Make it a great one.